Welcome back, my friends. This is the second part of the series. The series is streamlining and revamping the management education system in India. Uh, as I already told, just last week, one of my articles on uh, qualitative enhancements for value-based education. That is the title of the article. That article has been published by one of the global education provider, who has some type of arrangements with many universities in European countries, London, Spain, Italy, and also USA and Middle East. Yes, I'm happy to say again, he has published my article in Oxford. That turns to 14 pages. As mentioned in my part 1 also, those of you, if you have missed my part 1, this is actually part 2. In part 1, I have covered 10 very critical, crucial areas of education system with a particular reference to Indian management education institutions. I already confirmed, I've written this article based on my almost 30 years of teaching experience in education field, almost 8 years as a corporate trainer and another 20 years as a professor of finance, banking, investment for over 12 universities, Indian, Australian, and particularly UK-based, London Metro, Wales, etc. I've already covered this in my introductory part. It is repetitive, I know, because in case you have not seen my part 1, don't miss that. Please see that part 1. It talks about a lot of background, why I have written this article. Why still there are so many gaps in the quality education provided by management institutions with possible few exceptions, only few exceptions of IITs, IIMs and a couple of private universities. So friends, here in this session I will be covering another second part 2, another 10 points. They're all very crucial, critical areas where there is a lot of scope for improvements. Okay, so here it is. Let's go ahead. I'll start from point number 11. But maybe I'm just thinking, what are the 10 points which I have covered in part 1. I will simply read out the 10 points. Then we'll start with point number 11. I have not prepared any PowerPoint presentations for this. It runs to 14 pages, big article. I'll simply read the headlines, paragraph head of the 10 points which I have covered in part 1. And today in part 2, I will be covering in detail all the other 10 points. Okay. Let's go ahead. Yeah, I hope you are able to see this file. Starting with 11, but anyway, quickly I will simply browse through that 10 points quickly, so that what are the points which I have covered in my part 1. This article of Professor Rao has been published at Oxford. Then Education-Fortnightly of a global education provider is based in Oxford, UK. It's all about me. I don't read. I've covered why it is important, what is the complaints, crises and accreditations, problems of management institutions, problems of placement, problems of employability, all those things I have given an introduction in my part 1. I started with the student mentoring, which is very much absent in our system. Then even though we have faculty performance evaluation system, there are so many gaps in that. So how it has to be addressed, I have talked about. Third, students performance evaluation. I'm not talking about formative and summative assessments, but then feedback in every session at the end of a session. So the two-way feedback system, I have given a lot of examples and how to follow it up and how to make students, lively engaged in the classroom. Then point number 5, I talked about grooming. Even though the grooming takes place, what type of expertise it calls for if you really want to groom students, not for mere placement, for their better career growth also, for their career growth, sustainable growth, I say. I know some of the students, they were in tears, they will say, Professor Rao, I want to change the job. They found it extremely difficult to encounter those challenges in the bitter corporate world. So I talked about how to groom the students. Then student engagement in the class, what are the creative and better ways. I've given a lot of example, best practices to ensure students engagement. Some of them I myself have practiced, some of them I have taken from top universities, the top 20 universities. I view their videos, etc. Then how to utilize, faculty resources, particularly the new entrants and the juniors, then to keep students engaged, interactive sessions through weekly discussion forums. Some of the foreign universities follow this. Then involving alumni, understanding their challenges, their pitfalls and their failures, successes, not calling them once in a year, how you should call them, regular basis. And finally, 10th point, I have talked about the type of textbooks, which unfortunately we follow, where, all direct essay type, direct questions. There are no challenging questions. It is not based on latest data. It is not based on real corporative scenarios. So I've talked about how the scenario analysis and the situation analysis. So the type of textbooks also matter. And just because some university has approved and all universities follow it blindly. So the type of textbooks and the type of authors who write, and whether they should be just academics, just a PhD or practitioner. Let's say I'm a banker of 30 years service. Supposing I have written a couple of books on banking. I'm not marketing my books here, but then go for books written by practitioners. Okay. Well, friends, I have covered in my part 1 10 points. Now here it is point number 11. Corporate and community relationship. Even before I read what I written, I don't know. I don't recollect. Now, are we capable of addressing the problems of corporate? Can the faculty with a group of students take one of their problems and address that, like engineering students do? In management students, it's possible. Why not? Now, non-performing assets running into trillions of rupees. Why that? Why even well-performing firm becomes defaulters? Can you do some research? Can you do analysis? Can you help corporate? Corporate relationship is not just to, call them for campus placements. What you are doing for them? Are we really capable of taking up their problems? Many faculties, despite their doctoral degrees, they are not competent enough to guide the students. I'm sorry, I'm not undermining their capability. Because when they don't have exposure, how can they then ultimately they will simply give what is the bookish problem. The case studies, as I have seen, 1-page case study. The balance sheet is 1 page. And the income statement is 1 page. Just calculate some ratios. That's the end of it. After calculating, can you interpret? Can you analyze? Can you suggest some improvements? Implemental improvements? Can you do cost benefit analysis? Can you give some cost cutting measures to corporates who are finding it difficult to reduce the cost? Then what is management education then, if you cannot solve the problem? And who has to do this? It has to be done by the faculty. Take some 5-6 bright students, address their challenges. Live and critical issues of corporate. Sadly enough, either they have no industry exposure, nor upskilled and updated themselves. I've seen some of the faculties who prepared notes about 8 years ago. The same notes is dictated. I'm sorry to make this statement, at MBA level, notes are dictated, my dear. Live projects from the corporate must be undertaken. I overemphasize this, by faculties and students jointly, address critical, contemporary and burning issues on consultancy basis. In addition to conducting management development programs for their employees. Conduct programs for their employees. If you say you are a management expert, why can't you teach their employees? Such interventions enhance the image of the institutions, culminating in the students getting better and assured placement, opportunities from the employers. Certainly they will say, oh, here is a management institute which can address our problems. Okay, so this is really not happening in most of the institutions. There is a separate department, corporate relationship manager, only to get them for campus placements. Then caselet analysis or case study. I've seen just in the examination they give some 3-line caselet, and I've been an examiner for a couple of universities. That guidelines given is they give, if he has written formula, give them, let's say, 2 marks. If the data is substituted, give 2 marks. The conclusion may be irrelevant, maybe stupid, but because he has produced something, number of pages, give them marks. See, if he doesn't get 60 marks, because progressive report marks card is like a passport to better placement, and some management institution, some companies entry level only we call shortlist only first class student. So management institutions try to push them so that every student should get first class without even fundamental knowledge. I'm not here to criticize them, but then how best it can be done, I'm trying to suggest. Okay. Students and the faculty as well prefer a 1 or 2 page caselet. Instead, an elaborate, contemporary, industry-oriented live cases with extensive data. Import data from their website, complex and burning problems. Recently, I had one case running to 73 pages. The student said, sir, 73 pages, it's like a book. We don't want to read. They are not exposed to that. I was asked to take some case studies, live case studies. So, okay, I'm not telling you should take very big projects. Let there be at least 10-page case studies. I've seen, just 1-page case study. And they just guess and they give some answers. That's one of the reasons why I don't want to name the top 10 management institutions. They may be charging in millions, but the students derive application skills in addition to conceptual skills. Mere conceptual skills, I don't say it's waste, it has limitations. Application skill, analytical skill, critical skills, that is much more important. So caselet should become a compulsory and integral part of day-to-day teaching. That's what I want to emphasize. Okay. Visiting faculty. I am also visiting faculty for a couple of universities, but then unfortunately what happens, some visiting faculty accept assignments in several institutions. I know some of the visiting faculties who teach in 4 institutions in a day, how much they can concentrate. They visit multiple colleges in a day, hurriedly come into the class, sometimes write a problem with solution. Problem with solution on whiteboard. And students tell them this is very important from exam point of view, take down. So they will write. Some students have seen they are more advanced. They come near the whiteboard and from mobile they capture image. I'm not telling any jokes. I'm not here to criticize the system, but what's really, that's why I said ground realities. I've seen this in the field. Not 10 years ago, my dear, right now. Right now. This is happening, here and now. I do agree it is beneficial to have faculty with industry exposure, their experience and competence, that it has a 0 value if deliverable are not effective. Maybe I am also experienced, I may say 30 years in bank, but then my deliverable should be such should be effective. The learning should take place. That doesn't happen. Therefore, institution must set prescribed norms, parameters for employing visiting faculty also. Some academic in charge, they will find out, they will take reference from other colleges, they just call them. Do you really interview them? Do you find out their how much in-depth experience they have? And their, I'm not telling, see, now experience is different, but delivery and teaching, it needs a skill. You may call CEO, he's expert, but then is he able to convey that effectively? So they should define detailed terms and conditions about their deliverable, their duties, their responsibilities with specific performance evaluation tools. For them also keep evaluation tools. Management must undertake due diligence. This is a word used by a banker like me. For borrowers, we do what is known as due diligence to study their background, check up before assigning them any subject. Now, blockchain is the latest technology. Blockchain you would have studied, but whether that faculty has a real exposure to blockchain or financial modeling or business analytics. Okay, so inviting visiting faculties of international repute enhances the value and quality of inputs, particularly with, like for example, some investment bankers are there. So blockchain experts are there who are in the field. The startups are there, entrepreneurs are there. Call them. Don't call only faculty with PhDs. I do respect PhDs. They have undergone 3-4 years rigorous work. Now again, I'm coming to the faculty only. I'm really not undermining their capabilities. I'm only trying to find out what are the gaps, how those gaps can be filled in for their own good. It is essential that the faculty, including PhD holders, who do not have any industry experience, must get exposure to the practice and process of corporate, which enable them to relate concepts to application. Generally, what happens, we give principles, definitions, theories, and they write essays. Application. They must be deputed to the suitable organization for job training. I'm talking about training of the faculty. Faculty development programs takes place. But then that program should not be held in the college. They should be deputed to the organization. That's what I mean. Let them go and face the real scenario, the corporate. Maybe for 6 months. Similarly, those who do not have previous teaching experience, they must be deputed to need-based teachers training programs conducted by well-established and international standard agencies. They conduct, teacher training development program for upskilling, updating, and to know about advanced technology. I was mentioning in my earlier session, particularly because of this COVID has become a bane for us, and all of a sudden the teachers were asked to conduct classes online. It becomes so difficult for them. Without giving them any training, how can you expect? See, teaching in the classroom and teaching online, I have been teaching for the last 18 years. Of course, not in India, for foreign universities. Online teaching is highly respected world over. We have a different perception about online teaching, particularly in India, because we used to call it distance learning. Now, all of a sudden, without any training, how can you expect them? It needs a specialized skill to teach online, to make the students lively engaged in the classroom. So they should be deputed to such an organization. It is about training and development of in-house faculty. Okay. Next, curriculum updating. Despite occasional revision of the syllabus, it is not industry oriented. I have seen this. Why can't you call one or two experts from the industry? That is what I mean by corporate relation. Call one or two. Then, sir, supposing you are talking something about, let's say banking, let's say insurance, let's say housing finance, call them, what exactly you expect. Or even if it is marketing. Call them what type of concept you want us to incorporate in our syllabus. The curriculum must be prepared jointly by an excellent academician so that concepts will be clear, and dynamic industry practitioner. Look at the words. Very, very thoughtfully I used this word. Excellent academician and a dynamic industry practitioner, ensuring a fair blend of academic excellence and dynamic application. And feedback must be obtained from the campus visiting experts to incorporate necessary inputs in the syllabus. Supposing you are calling somebody, get their feedback. It is essential that we must benchmark the syllabus to some top 10, top 20 management institutes to attain international standards. In fact, in one of the institutes where it's of course one of the leading management institutes in Pune, they have benchmarks. Benchmark Harvard, benchmark Columbia, benchmark Stanford, even the syllabus. So this is very essential. It is not updating according to your university. Let's say many management institutions are affiliated to, let's say for example, one big university like Mumbai or Pune or Calcutta, whatever. And they once periodically they update. What do you update? Updation with reference to the industry and need-based skill updation. It is not, concepts, principles, they have been there for decades. Point number 15. Point number 16, assignments. Most of the assignments set by the faculty, they intend to examine mere understanding of basic core concept and obsolete theories. Like even today I use, for example, the CAPM, capital asset pricing model, or Black-Scholes model. But what modification has to be done in that? Gordon's growth model or dividend policy, they are all very old. Now what many assumptions? They are not valid today. And the textbooks, they never change. Same thing they repeat. What is latest? How it can be modified? For example, BSM has a lot of Black-Scholes model for derivatives, a lot of assumption. CAPM has so many assumptions. So how it can be modified? Many colleges have not present evaluation parameters or standard rubrics even. They don't have rubrics, parameters for verification. Just now I was mentioning, okay, he has written formula, give some marks, properly key in the data, whatever, okay, for the other 2%. The conclusion will be wrong, no recommendations, still they get 60 marks. So there is no practical and outcome based assignments. Every assignment needs to be vetted. Assignments have to be accepted. I have done this for a couple of British universities. It has to be vetted by the subject expert, domain experts, internal domain expert, and it should be linked to the outcome mentioned in your lesson plan, syllabus, program objectives, learning outcomes, and what type of cases you will be giving to the students. Everything, the lesson plan should be very, very comprehensive. In most of the institutions it's not happening. Number 17, I am not here to target my friends, my colleagues, professors. In fact, I too very much, I respect PhD holders. I too have done a lot of in-depth research, particularly when I was in bank. Maybe I would have obtained 13 PhDs. So much of in-depth research I have done. I have due respect. But what happens, the PhD thesis, which the faculty had prepared decades ago, has no relevance, no validity to the present day dynamic. Look at the words here: dynamic, disruptive, technologically advanced, digitized corporate environment. Please read this sentence again. You would have done PhD 10 years ago, and it was specific. So it is not relevant. There is no validity for the present day dynamic, disruptive, technologically advanced, digitized corporate environment now, remember. Therefore, the faculty must revise, review, update your own obsolete thesis. You have done, written 400 pages. It has to be done periodically by understanding the contemporary needs of the corporate and keep themselves abreast with the latest advancements in technology and application skills. For example, the type of banking which I did is no longer valid, it's vanished. So I talked to some of my students. Yesterday I was talking to some VP from Barclays, he was my student. Somebody from Citi, HSBC. So keep yourself updated. Talk to your own students. You need not, you may feel ashamed, you may feel blessed to talk to somebody, outsider. Talk to your student. 50% my learning, my dear, I'm confessing honestly, secretly with you, has come from my students. When they were in college, they were maybe a bit dull, but once they joined a corporate, they acquired all the skills. They are better than I. They're far better than what I am. I learned from them. Okay. Then revised articles must be published in international journals to get maximum citations. How many citations you got? Tell me. How many articles you have published in internationally popular journals? That makes you learn updated practices, procedures, developments. Okay? Validate your PhD thesis, my dear. All doctorates. My request. 17 point number 17, only 3 remain. Accreditation. Now, many institutions are, because ultimately, if supposing your engineering qualification is not accredited by NAB, then NBA, then you have a lot of restrictions. You may not have some, you may not go for, let's say, some foreign qualifications also. They are not recognized. So they are struggling to get, it may be NBA in India, AASSB, AMBA, EFMD, EQUS. You would have heard about all these bodies. Sometimes they are based on self-assessment report. You just give self-assessment report. Based on that, NBA gives you A plus or A plus plus whatever. Moreover, what happens, once the college gets accreditation, they become complacent. Oh, my program has been accredited by NBA. Then quality gets compromised. In the absence of continuous inspection and monitoring by accreditation bodies. They may visit only once in 2 years or once in 5 years. And it may not be proper on my part. Only documentation is done perfectly well. So based on documentation, they give you credit. I'm not again undermining their competence, capabilities. They have their own limitations. It is for you, Management Institute, to see that quality is not compromised. Colleges must strictly implement the quality enhancements measures throughout the 5-year period of accreditation. It may be 5 years, it may be 2 years also. Now, in some of the colleges I have seen, they don't know what is Bloom's taxonomy. What is that Bloom's taxonomy, they say? They ask me. Not familiarized with program and course objectives. What is learning outcome? And related Bloom's taxonomy, its usage for outcome-based education system, they don't know. They need to be trained thoroughly. Instead of hiring the external consultant or preparing the session plans, I have seen some institutes, they give this assignment to some outside expert. They prepare session plan, and the faculty struggles. Finds it so difficult to carry on with that lesson plan. So point number 18, you got A++. You are happy, students are happy, parents are happy, but then how to sustain that quality. That's important. Only 2 points left. 19, creating intellectual property. How much intellectual property you have created? It is vital that every management institution must set IP policies. You must have your own policy like you have budget policy. Okay. Allocate required resources for conducting research by the faculty and for developing entrepreneurship amongst the students. Now, last week I was talking with some professor. He has, developed so many entrepreneurs. Many institutes abroad have commercialized their IP assets and substantially contributed to their corpus, having billions of rupees. This is a less focused area in most of our institutions because we don't have that competent people by most of the Indian management. This is the one area where you must have some intellectual properties. This is the last point, my dear. Ultimately, with all this, any management institutes, their main aim is placement. And they say, oh, mine is 80% placement, 100% placement. Look what I have written. I'm sorry, I'm critic. But with intention is to see that the gaps are bridged. A 100% placement record some of the institutes have, perhaps a legacy, brand driven, because such and such institute, oh, good one. It is not a barometer to measure the quality of education, my dear. I repeat, 100% placement record is not a barometer to measure the quality of education imparted to the students. They are just placed, not employable though. I repeat, they are just placed. 100% placement over, not employable. Placement and employable makes big difference. A few students get better placements based on their inherent attributes, their skills, their how they have been brought up in their life. Like I have come across some of the students from engineering backgrounds of their parents or doctors, particularly defense. They have that inherent attributes, DNA, their upbringing, family culture, educational background. So you are not really made them employable, my dear. Best amongst the worst are selected by companies that visit campus. They have to select somebody. And they look elsewhere. They stand in the line, maybe for IIMs or IITs, or top institutions for students with better skill sets. My conclusion, there is so much to talk about. It is high time that our management institutes, particularly in India, I was fortunate enough to have some background for UK, USA, Australian universities. That's why I'm mentioning it, particularly in India. Switched over from the academic and bookish knowledge dissemination process. Please switch over from the academic and bookish knowledge dissemination process to, now listen carefully, critical, analytical, application skill and attitudinal development. You heard about ask? A comes first, attitude. Then comes yes, skill. Then comes knowledge. So we are only knowledge based. Ask. Analytical, application skill, the attitude development process for better placement, sustainable. I told some of my students talk to me, Professor Rao, I want to change my job. I struggle hard to meet the expectations of the bitter corporate world. So not only placement, sustainable and illustrious career growth for your students. Well, my lovely students, my recruiters, I hope you will not blame me having pointed out the bitter realities and the ground realities, having been in this field for last 20 years. It will be my pleasure to talk to you at any point of time and share my experience. Thanks for reviewing my video and listening to me. If at all you want any detail there, you pause the video and please go through. I've written a couple of articles on the education system. I need your blessings. Thank you so much. See you again. Bye. Thank you all for reviewing my video. Here I don't ask for make it become my subscriber, post your liking. I am not in that category. I post these videos to YouTube for helping the students and management institutions so that they bring qualitative enhancements for value-based education. That's my intention. Whether you like or dislike, okay, I don't want your liking also. But then see, whatever I have told, they're all bitter facts, my dear. Okay, bye.